John Carter looked out the viewport of the diplomatic shuttle as it approached the massive space station. The Galactic Council headquarters hung like a shining metal flower against the backdrop of stars. Nexus Prime, they called it. This was humanity's big moment, and he was at the center of it. "Are you nervous, sir?" asked Olivia Pierce. She sat across from him, her tablet ready to record everything for Earth's historical archives. John straightened his formal blue uniform. "After 30 years in diplomacy, I've learned to keep my nerves in check, Olivia. But yes, the stakes have never been higher." Their shuttle glided toward the docking bay, guided by invisible beams. Just 5 years ago, humans had discovered the ruins of an alien ship crashed in the Arctic ice. From it, Earth scientists had unlocked the secret of faster-than-light travel. Humanity had quickly built its first starships and ventured beyond the solar system, only to discover they were very late to a very old party. The Galactic Council had existed for thousands of years. Hundreds of alien species lived, traded, fought, and made alliances across the stars. Earth was the newest kid on the block, and the neighborhood wasn't entirely friendly. "Remember," John said quietly, "we are representing every human being back home. We need the Council's protection against some of the more aggressive species we've encountered." Olivia nodded. Her dark hair was pulled back in a perfect bun, not a strand out of place. "The Vexari delegation has agreed to sponsor our application. That's a good sign, right?" John's face remained neutral. The Vexari Imperium controls nearly a third of Council votes. Their support is crucial, but I don't trust their sudden interest in Earth. Nothing comes free in galactic politics. The shuttle docked with a gentle bump. John stood up, straightening to his full height. At 62, he still maintained the strong posture of the Marine he had been before entering diplomatic service. His gray hair and the small scar above. His right eyebrow gave him what the president had called the perfect look of distinguished humanity. "Stay close," he told Olivia. "Observe everything, but be careful what you say. The universal translators work both ways." The airlock cycled open. A delegation waited for them. 4 different alien species standing in formal arrangement. At Tahiti, the center stood High Chancellor Zexitoral of the Vexari, his scaled blue skin catching the light. 4 arms clasped in what John recognized as a gesture of formal welcome. "Ambassador Carter." The alien's voice came through the translator with a slight delay. "The Council welcomes Earth's first official envoy. Your presence honors us." John bowed his head slightly. "The honor is Earth's, High Chancellor. We come seeking friendship and mutual understanding." The Vexari's mouth parts moved in what might have been a smile. "You shall have both. Come. The Council awaits your formal introduction." They walked through gleaming corridors filled with representatives of countless species. Some looked almost human. Others defied description. Olivia's eyes widened as she discreetly recorded everything with her neural implant. John noticed how other delegates moved aside as the Vexari approached. Fear, he wondered, or respect. He had studied council politics intensely since first contact, but books and briefings couldn't capture the complex power dynamics he now felt. They entered a vast chamber. Thousands of seats arranged in rising tiers surrounded a central platform. Above, a transparent dome revealed the star-filled vastness of space. "The Great Chamber," Zextoral announced. "Tomorrow you will stand before the assembled council and present Earth's petition for membership." John gazed at the chamber where humanity's future would be decided. "And the council will listen?" The Vexari's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Of course, Ambassador. The council always listens before it decides the fate of worlds. Now we have prepared quarters for your delegation. You should rest before tomorrow's ceremony." As they followed their guides, Olivia whispered, "They seem friendlier than our briefing suggested." John kept his voice low. "Yes, that's what worries me." The guest quarters assigned to the Earth delegation were impressive. Large windows looked out onto the swirling nebula that surrounded Nexus Prime. The furniture was designed to accommodate various species but had been adjusted for human comfort. Olivia placed a small device on the center table. It hummed softly before projecting a green light that filled the room. "Scanner's clean," she said. No listening devices that our tech can detect. John nodded. That doesn't mean they aren't watching. The council races have technologies we can't even imagine. He removed his formal jacket and sat down heavily. The artificial gravity on the station was slightly stronger than Earth's, making every movement more tiring. What do you make of our hosts? He asked. Olivia reviewed her notes. The Vexari are being unusually accommodating. Based on our intel, they typically view non-spacefaring races as resources, not equals. Exactly, John said. Something's off. I need you to access the station's public network. See what information is available about upcoming council sessions. While Olivia worked, John prepared for the next day's presentation. Earth needed allies, trade agreements, and protection. Many of the older council races viewed humanity as either a threat or an opportunity to exploit. Humans had adapted alien technology too quickly for comfort. A chime at the door interrupted his thoughts. A small gray-skinned alien entered, pushing a cart of food containers. Refreshments for the Earth delegation, it said through a translator device, specially prepared to match human dietary needs. John thanked the server, who bowed and left. He noticed the food remained untouched. Our medical scanners checked. Everything, Olivia said, noting his caution. It's safe to eat. John picked up what looked like a blue fruit. Better safe than sorry. What did you find on the network? Olivia's expression darkened. There's a closed council session scheduled right before our presentation. Topic listed as Management of Emergent Species Threats. That could be anything, John said, but his eyes narrowed. There's more, Olivia continued. I used that backdoor access our tech team created. Accessed some restricted communications between Vexari officials. She projected a message onto the wall. The translation was rough, but clear enough. Human. Demonstration approved by Security Council. Procedure follows Directive 5591. Ensure maximum visibility across council space. John's face hardened. Directive 5591? I can't find a direct reference, Olivia said, but cross-referencing other documents suggests it relates to public displays of council authority. John stood up and paced the room. They're planning something. This isn't just about our application. A soft beep came from Olivia's tablet. Ambassador, I'm picking up unusual movement patterns, multiple security teams converging near the ceremonial chambers. John made a decision. Contact Earth. Full encryption. Tell them we have reason to believe this may be a trap. Before Olivia could respond, the door slid open. High Chancellor Zexitoral entered with 4 Vexari guards. Their crystalline armor gleamed under the room's lights. Ambassador Carter, the High Chancellor said smoothly. I hope your accommodations are satisfactory. John forced a diplomatic smile. Very much so, Chancellor. We were just preparing for tomorrow's presentation. The Vexari's 4 eyes blinked in that strange sequence. Actually, there has been a change of schedule. The Council is eager to hear Earth's petition. They have moved your presentation to tonight's special session. John exchanged a quick glance with Olivia. That's unexpected. We would need time to prepare. No need, Zexteral said. It is merely a formality. The Council has already been most impressed by humanity's rapid advancement. They are prepared to offer Earth a special status among the galactic community. The way he said special status sent a chill down John's spine. Everything in his diplomatic experience told him something was very wrong. Chancellor, as Earth's representative, I must insist on the original schedule. Diplomatic protocols. Ambassador, the Vexari interrupted, his voice suddenly cold. This is not a request the Council awaits. John walked between 4 Vexari guards with High Chancellor Zexitoral leading the way. Olivia followed close behind, her hand tight around her tablet. They moved through corridors that grew increasingly grand, with high ceilings and walls decorated, with symbols from 100 worlds. You should be honored, Ambassador, Zexitoral said without looking back. Few species receive such special attention from the full Council. John kept his voice steady. Earth appreciates the Council's interest. However, I must insist on communicating with my government before any formal proceedings. The Vexari made a sound that might have been laughter. There will be time for that after the ceremony. They arrived at a vast set of doors 3 times the height of a human. Strange symbols glowed along their surface, shifting and changing in patterns John couldn't follow. The Chamber of Judgment, Zex's Toral announced. The oldest part of Nexus, Prime, built by the founders 10,000 years ago. The doors slid open silently. Inside was a circular room with tiered seating rising high on all sides. Hundreds of aliens of different species watched as the humans entered. In the center stood a raised platform with a single pole of dark metal. John felt his heart rate increase. This was not a diplomatic reception. "Chancellor," he said firmly, "what is the meaning of this? Where is the council assembly?" "This is a special session," Zex Toral replied. His voice had changed, becoming formal and cold. "The High Security Council has evidence that Earth has violated the most sacred laws of galactic civilization." "That's absurd," John said. "We've barely joined the galactic community. We don't even know all your laws yet." A murmur ran through the assembled aliens. Many leaned forward, watching with what John recognized as anticipation. "Ignorance is no excuse," said a new voice. A tall, thin alien with pale skin and 6 eyes stepped forward from the crowd. "I am Chief Justice Morgval. This body has reviewed the evidence and found humanity guilty of illegal weapons development, attempted espionage against council races, and harboring biological modifications forbidden by Treaty 9. John stood straighter. "These charges are false. I demand to see this supposed evidence and to speak with my government before any proceedings continue." Morgval's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. "The evidence has been validated by Council truth seekers. As for communication with Earth, that will not be permitted. Your planet must learn its place in the galactic order." 2 guards grabbed John's arms. Another approached Olivia. "Run!" John shouted to her. "Get back to the shuttle." Olivia didn't hesitate. She slammed her tablet against the nearest guard's face. The screen flashed brightly, temporarily blinding the alien. She darted toward a small service door at the side of the chamber. Alarms blared. Guards moved to pursue, but Zex's Toral raised one of his 4 hands. "Let her go," he said. "She has nowhere to hide. All docking bays are sealed." John struggled against his captors as they dragged him toward the central platform. "This is a violation of all diplomatic protocols. Earth will not stand for this." Zex Toral stepped closer to John, speaking quietly so only he could hear. "That is precisely what we are counting on, human. Your species adapts too quickly, learns too rapidly. The Council has determined you are a future threat that must be managed." The guards forced John onto the platform. Metal restraints emerged from the central pole, securing his wrists and ankles. Above the chamber, large screens activated, showing the proceedings to what must have been audiences throughout Council space. "John Carter of Earth," announced Chief Justice Morgval, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You have been found guilty of crimes against galactic peace. The sentence is death by purification, to be carried out immediately as a lesson to your kind." Meanwhile, Olivia Pierce crawled through a narrow maintenance tunnel. The station's service passages were designed for smaller maintenance drones, forcing her to squeeze through tight spaces. She could hear the alarms and announcements echoing through the metal walls. Her neural implant was still recording everything. If she could reach the communication hub, there was a chance she could send a message to Earth. They needed to know what was happening here. Behind her, she heard the scrape of claws in the tunnel. They were coming. The Chamber of Judgment fell, silent as 4 Vexari priests entered wearing ceremonial red robes. They carried a clear container filled with glowing blue liquid. The aliens in the audience leaned forward with a mixture of excitement and reverence. John pulled against his restraints, but they only tightened in response. He kept his face calm despite his racing heart. A lifetime of diplomatic training had prepared him for dangerous situations, but nothing like this. "This is an illegal execution," he called out, his voice strong and clear. "I am here under diplomatic protection. Earth will view this as an act of war." High Chancellor Zex Toral stepped onto the platform. "This is not an execution, Ambassador. It is a purification. The Council has used this method for thousands of years to cleanse the galaxy of dangerous influences." One of the priests placed The container at the base of the pole. Another pressed symbols on a control panel. The metal pole began to glow red. Your species has developed too quickly, Zexatoril continued. You achieved space travel centuries before you should have. The Council has determined that humanity represents a fundamental threat to galactic stability. John looked around the Yao chamber, studying the faces of the aliens watching him. Some showed disgust, others curiosity, but many seemed to enjoy the spectacle. Listen to me, John said, addressing the entire chamber. Earth comes in peace. We seek only to join the galactic community, to learn and share knowledge. This action will only lead to needless suffering. Chief Justice Morgval stepped forward. The decision is made. Let the purification begin. One of the priests tilted the container, pouring the blue liquid onto the base of the pole. It hissed and released a sweet-smelling vapor that rose around John. The metal restraints grew hot against his skin. Meanwhile, deep in the station's maintenance system, Olivia crawled through a narrow tunnel that opened into a small junction room. Service. Panels lined the walls showing the station's complex systems. She could hear the claws of her pursuers scraping through the tunnels behind her. She worked quickly, connecting her tablet to one of the panels. Years of training as a communications specialist paid off as her fingers flew across the screen. She bypassed security protocols and accessed the station's communication grid. Just need to find the right channel, she whispered to herself. Back in the Chamber of Judgment, the blue liquid had completely covered the base of the platform. Cow. Pole glowed brighter and John could feel intense heat building. The sweet vapor made his thoughts fuzzy, but he fought to stay alert. This demonstration will be broadcast to all Council worlds, Zextoril announced, and to Earth as well. Your people must understand their place in the galactic order. The pole suddenly erupted in blue flame that spiraled upward. John gasped as the heat intensified. The flames didn't burn his clothing, but he could feel the energy penetrating his body, causing excruciating pain. He gritted his teeth, refusing to scream. He would not give them the satisfaction. In the junction room, Olivia found what she needed. She hacked into the broadcast system that was transmitting the proceedings. With a few commands, she created a secure channel directly to Earth's deep space monitoring station. Recording active, her tablet confirmed. Transmission locked and secure. On her screen, she could see what was happening in the chamber. Tears filled her eyes as she watched the blue flames surround John. In the chamber, John felt his strength fading. The blue fire was not consuming his body, but something worse. It seemed to be burning him from the inside out. Every nerve ending screamed in agony. As his consciousness began to fade, he looked directly into the broadcast cameras. He knew this might be his last chance to speak for Earth. My death changes nothing, he said, his voice strained but determined. Humanity will not bow. Earth will remember. The flames roared higher, completely engulfing him now. John's last thoughts were of home, of green forests and blue oceans, of the people he had sworn to protect. Then darkness took him. Throughout Council space, billions of alien beings watched the human ambassador burn. Some cheered, some watched in horror, but all understood the message. This was the Council's power, absolute and unquestionable. But unknown to them, every moment was being transmitted to Earth, exactly as it happened, with no Council filters or propaganda. Humanity was watching, and humanity would remember. The United Nations Emergency Council chamber in New York was deadly silent. On the main screen, the recording of John Carter's execution played. His final words echoed through the room. Earth will remember. Defense Secretary Alan Donovan stood, motionless, his hands gripping the podium until his knuckles turned white. John had been his friend for 30 years. They had served together as young Marines before John moved to diplomacy and Alan to defense. Play it again, he said, his voice rough with emotion. The technician hesitated. Sir, we've seen it 3 times already. Play it again, Alan repeated. I want everyone to remember exactly what they did to him. As the recording restarted, showing John being led into the alien chamber, Alan looked around the room. The leaders, of every major nation on Earth were present, either physically or via secure video link. For the first time in human history, they were completely united. "We received this transmission 4 hours ago," Alan said as the video played. "It came through the deep space relay station on Europa. Our analysts confirm it's authentic and unaltered." On another screen, data scrolled past. The complete information package Olivia Pierce had managed to transmit before her signal was cut off. Technical specifications of the Council station, ship movements, defense systems. She had sent everything she could access. "What about Pierce?" asked the Chinese premier. "Is she still alive?" Alan shook his head. "Unknown. Her transmission ended abruptly. We must assume she's either captured or dead." The President of the United States stood up. Her face was grim, her eyes hard. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are at war. Not with a nation or an ideology, but with an interstellar government that has made it clear they see us as vermin to be exterminated." No one objected. No one suggested caution or diplomacy. They had all seen what happened to diplomacy. "Secretary Donovan," the President continued, "brief us on our military readiness." Alan pressed a button and the screens changed to show schematics of ships and weapons. "For the past 4 years, we've been reverse engineering the technology from the crashed alien ship. Project Harbinger has produced results far beyond what we've shared publicly. Images appeared of massive ships hidden in underground facilities and asteroid bases throughout the solar system. Earth had been preparing for this possibility since first contact. We currently have 57 combat-ready vessels with FTL capability. Another 38 will be operational within 2 weeks. All are equipped with weapons derived from alien tech, but modified and improved by our scientists." The Russian president leaned forward. "The Council believes we are primitive. They expect us to react with primitive weapons." Alan nodded. "Exactly. Their arrogance is our advantage. They don't know what we've developed. And thanks to Olivia's data, we now know their weaknesses." He brought up a tactical display showing the Nexus Prime station and surrounding space. The Council's defense grid has 3 major vulnerabilities. Their quantum communication network can be disrupted using technology we developed from the crashed ship. Their automated defense systems operate on predictable patterns. And most importantly, they don't expect us to strike back immediately. The UN Secretary General spoke up. "Who will lead this response?" "Admiral Samantha Wright," Alan replied without hesitation. "She's been training our space forces for this scenario for years. She knows alien tactics better than anyone." On a screen, a woman in her late 40s appeared. Admiral Wright had a reputation for brilliant strategy and absolute dedication. She had been one of the first humans to pilot a ship using alien technology. "The Admiral has already moved our fleet to staging positions," Alan continued. "We're ready to launch Operation Righteous Fury within 12 hours. The President looked around the room. "I call for a vote. Do we authorize immediate military action against the Galactic Council?" One by one, the world leaders voiced their agreement. There was no debate, no hesitation. "It's unanimous," the President declared. "Secretary Donovan, give the order." Alan nodded and opened a secure channel to Admiral Wright. "Samantha, you have full authorization. Commence Operation Righteous Fury." The Admiral's voice came through clearly. "Understood, sir. We'll make them pay for John." As the meeting ended, Alan stood alone looking at the frozen image of his friend surrounded by alien flames. "Earth remembers John," he whispered, "and Earth will respond." Admiral Samantha Wright stood on the bridge of the EDF Vengeance, the largest warship ever built by human hands. Through the view screen, she watched as her fleet assembled in the darkness beyond Jupiter's orbit. 57 ships, each carrying weapons that would have seemed like science fiction just 5 years ago. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said her executive officer, Commander Paul Nelson. "Waiting for your order." Samantha nodded. She was not a tall woman, but her presence filled the bridge. Her dark skin contrasted with her silver-gray hair, cut short in the military style she had maintained for 30 years of service. "Put me through to all ships," she ordered. The communications officer pressed several buttons. "Channel open, Admiral." Samantha took a deep breath. "This is Admiral Wright to all Earth Defense Force vessels. You've all seen the recording of Ambassador Carter's murder. That was not just an attack on one man. It was an attack on all humanity. A message that we are considered lesser beings, unworthy of respect or mercy. She paused, looking at the image of John Carter that she had placed on her console. Today we answer that message. Operation Righteous Fury is now active. Our mission is clear. Strike fast, strike hard, and show the Council that humanity will not be victimized. She nodded to her navigator. Initiate jump sequence. Primary target, Nexus Prime. Throughout the fleet, FTL drives powered up. The ships disappeared one by one in flashes of blue light, tearing holes in space to travel distances that should take years in mere moments. In the Galactic Council Security Center, alarms blared. Vexari officers rushed to their stations as screens lit up with warnings. High Chancellor, a security chief called out. We're detecting multiple spatial distortions approaching the station. Zexatoral looked up from a meeting with other council leaders. Impossible. No known species could reach us so quickly after. His words were cut off as the first human ships appeared just outside the station's defense perimeter. The Council's sensors had barely registered their presence when the attack began. Launch all fighters, Zexatoral ordered. Activate defense grid. But the human ships moved with unexpected speed and coordination. They were not attacking randomly. Each targeted specific weaknesses in the station's defenses, weaknesses that should have been unknown to them. On the Vengeance, Samantha watched as the battle unfolded according to plan. Target the communication hub, she ordered. Prepare to deploy the Carter Protocol. The ship's weapons officer pressed a series of controls. Carter Protocol ready, Admiral. Samantha leaned forward. Fire. A pulse of energy unlike anything the Council had ever seen erupted from the human flagship. It spread across space, penetrating the station's shields as if they weren't there. Throughout Nexus Prime, quantum communication systems failed instantly. Direct hit, reported the weapons officer. Their comms are down. They can't call for reinforcements. Samantha allowed herself a small smile. Begin Phase 2. Target their defensive systems and power grid. On Nexus Prime, chaos reigned. Council, races that had never faced a serious military threat in centuries, found themselves under attack with no way to coordinate their defense. Zexatoral rushed through crowded corridors as explosions rocked the station. Get me to the emergency shuttle. Bay, he ordered his guards. We must evacuate the High Council. An aide approached him, panic clear in his 4 eyes. High Chancellor, the human, they're broadcasting something on all frequencies. What? What are they saying? The aide's voice trembled. They're not saying anything. They're just showing Ambassador Carter's execution, over and over again. Zexatoral felt fear for the first time in his long life. The humans weren't just attacking, they were sending a message. In the lower levels of the station, prisoners held in detention cells felt the explosions. Olivia Pierce looked up as the force field of her cell flickered and died. She had been captured while trying to escape, beaten but kept alive for questioning. Now the guards had abandoned their posts as the station shook around them. She stumbled out of her cell, weak but determined. She needed to find a way to contact the Earth fleet. As she made her way through the failing station, she passed viewports, showing the battle outside. Earthships moved with deadly precision, systematically destroying the Council's defenses. They came, she whispered in amazement. They actually came. The humans had not just responded to the Council's aggression, they had brought war to the heart of galactic power itself. News of the attack on Nexus Prime spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Council's most secure headquarters, believed to be untouchable, was under assault by a species most had dismissed as primitive, and the humans were winning. On worlds, throughout Council space, the balance of power shifted. Species that had suffered under Vexari rule for centuries saw opportunity in the chaos. The first to act were the Novel, a race of highly intelligent beings who had been reduced to serving as scientists and engineers for the Council. Galen Vor, leader of the secret Novel resistance, called an emergency meeting in their hidden base, beneath the capital city of Novalis Prime. The humans have done what we thought impossible, he told his fellow rebels. They've struck directly at the heart of the Council and exposed its weakness. A hologram showed the ongoing battle at Nexus Prime. The station's outer rings had already been destroyed, and human ships were methodically dismantling its defenses. Now is the time, Galen continued. While the Vexari forces are distracted, we take back our world. Within hours, novel resistance cells activated across 50 worlds. Government buildings, military bases, and communication hubs fell as the long-oppressed people rose up against their masters. Other species followed their example. The Tauri, the Belmorians, even some factions of the usually loyal Zentari. On the Vexari homeworld, the Supreme Council watched in horror as reports flooded in of rebellions across their empire. How is this happening? Demanded Supreme Leader Morax. How can primitives and slaves coordinate such attacks? An intelligence officer approached nervously. Supreme Leader, we've intercepted communications between the humans and rebel groups. They're sharing our security protocols, defense codes, everything the female human stole from Nexus Prime. Morax slammed all four of his hands onto the table. Find High Chancellor Zexatoral. He is responsible for this catastrophe. But Zexatoral was nowhere to be found. His escape shuttle had been destroyed attempting to flee Nexus Prime. Back at the battle, Admiral Wright received a new communication. Admiral, her communications officer reported, we're picking up a transmission from inside the station. It's Olivia Pierce. Samantha's eyes widened. Put her through immediately. Olivia's face appeared on screen. She looked bruised and exhausted, but very much alive. Admiral Wright, she said, I've accessed the station's central control room. The council leaders are attempting to evacuate through a secret bay on the lower levels. Samantha leaned forward. Can you lock it down? Already done, Olivia replied with a grim smile. But there's more. I've found their secure archives. Everything is here. Their battle plans, weapons research, records of atrocities committed against other species. I'm downloading it all now. Excellent work, Samantha said. Can you make it to Docking Bay 12? I'm sending a team to extract you. I'll be there, Olivia promised. There's something else you should know. The Novel Federation has contacted me. They're leading a multi-species rebellion against the Council. They want to coordinate with us. This was unexpected but welcome news. Samantha quickly made her decision. Tell them we'll meet with their representatives. Humanity didn't start this war to become the new tyrants of the galaxy. Over the next several days, as Earth forces secured Nexus Prime and extracted all its secrets, delegations from rebel species arrived to discuss alliance terms. The Noval, with their scientific knowledge, the Tauri, with their vast trading networks, the Belmorians, with their powerful telepathic abilities. Each had suffered under Council rule, and each saw humans as unlikely liberators. On the seventh day, a captured Vexari cruiser arrived under heavy guard. On board was a single passenger, former High Chancellor Zex Toral, who had been found hiding on a remote outpost and surrendered by his own people in a desperate attempt to appease human anger. The once proud leader of the Council was brought before Admiral Wright on the bridge of the Vengeance. His blue scales had dulled, and he kept all four eyes downcast. Look at me, Samantha commanded. Slowly, Zexatoral raised his gaze. Do you know why you're still alive? She asked. To stand trial for crimes against humanity. He replied, his voice barely a whisper. Samantha shook her head. No. You're alive to deliver a message to what remains of your government. The age of the Council is over. The age of tyranny is over. Earth and its allies will build something better from the ashes. 1 year after the attack on Nexus Prime, representatives from 50 species gathered on the rebuilt station. The central chamber, once the site of John Carter's execution, had been transformed into a bright open space. Sunlight streamed in through a new transparent dome that replaced the dark ceiling. In the center stood a simple monument, a pillar of earth marble with Carter's final words engraved in 50 languages. Earth will remember. Olivia Pierce walked slowly around the monument, touching the smooth stone. She wore the formal uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps, now with the rank of ambassador. The physical scars from her captivity had healed, though the memories remained. "He would be proud," said a voice behind her. Admiral Wright, now Supreme Commander of the Allied Defense Forces, joined her by the monument, and probably a little embarrassed by all the attention. Olivia smiled. John never liked being the center of focus. He believed in the work, not the recognition. They looked out through the vast windows at the space beyond. Ships from dozens of worlds moved in careful patterns, patrolling and protecting the station that now served as headquarters for the new Galactic Confederation. "The last of the Vexari holdouts surrendered yesterday," Samantha said. "The Novel peacekeeping force accepted their terms. And Zexatoral's trial concluded this morning. He'll spend the rest of his life in a Belmorian rehabilitation center. They believe even the worst minds can be healed given enough time." Olivia wasn't sure she agreed, but vengeance had never been her goal. Justice, accountability, and a new order. These were what mattered. The doors at the far end of the chamber opened. Secretary Donovan entered, accompanied by delegates from the founding worlds of the Confederation. It was time for the signing ceremony. Olivia took her place at the central table. Before her lay the Galactic Confederation Charter, the result of months of negotiation. Unlike the old council, this new alliance was built on principles of equality, mutual defense, and shared prosperity. "Representatives of the free worlds," Olivia began, her voice carrying throughout the chamber. "1 year ago, a terrible act was committed in this place. An act meant to demonstrate humanity's weakness and the absolute power of the Galactic Council." She paused, looking at the faces around her. Human, Novel, Tauri, Belmorian, and dozens more, including reformed factions of the Vexari who had opposed their government's actions. That single act of cruelty unleashed something its perpetrators never expected. Not just the military might of Earth, but a wave of change that has reshaped our galaxy. Today we build something new from the ashes of oppression. One by one, the representatives came forward to sign the charter. Each used their own traditional method, some with electronic signatures, others with ink or claw marks or pressed scales. Olivia was the last to sign. As Earth's senior ambassador, this honor fell to her. She picked up the pen that had once belonged to John Carter, which had been recovered from his quarters. As she signed, memories of that terrible day flashed through her mind, the fear, the pain, the desperate flight through maintenance tunnels. But also John's courage, his refusal to break even as the flames consumed him. When the final signature was complete, Olivia addressed the assembly once more. "Let this be a lesson that resonates across time and space. Humanity extends friendship freely, but our retribution is absolute when betrayed. The galaxy now enters a new age, where no species stands above another, where exploration and cooperation replace domination and fear." She looked up at the stars visible through the dome. John Carter's sacrifice was not in vain. The fire that took his life forged something stronger than the old council could ever imagine. A true union of worlds, bound not by fear, but by mutual respect and common purpose. That evening, as celebrations continued throughout the station, Olivia stood alone at a viewport, watching Earth ships prepare to return home. Some would stay as part of the Confederation fleet, but many were no longer needed for war. "We did it, John," she whispered to the stars. "We remembered, and we built something better." In the vastness of space, new exploration ships were already launching, carrying mixed crews of humans and former council races. Together they would push farther into the unknown, not as conquerors, but as discoverers, united by the most powerful force in the galaxy, the will to create rather than destroy.